The rain was coming down in steady sheets, soaking the pavement as Emma hurried down the sidewalk, gripping her umbrella against the wind. Today was supposed to be the most important day of her life. The job interview she had been preparing for over a month. It wasn't just any job. It was her dream position, the kind that could change everything for her struggling family. She had ironed her best blouse, memorized every possible question, and left home early to make sure nothing went wrong. But fate had other plans. As she reached the crosswalk, waiting for the light to change, she noticed an elderly woman a few feet away, struggling with a cart of groceries. The bags were heavy, her hands were trembling, and her frail frame barely stood against the wind. No one else seemed to notice. People were too busy rushing past, heads down, lost in their own worlds. Emma hesitated, glancing at her watch. She still had time if she moved quickly. But then, in the next instant, the woman lost her grip, and the groceries went spilling onto the wet pavement. Emma's heart clenched. She knew she couldn't just walk away. Without a second thought, she rushed over, dropping to her knees as she gathered apples and cans, rolling in every direction. The old woman looked up at her, eyes filled with gratitude, but also something deeper. Exhaustion, loneliness, a silent plea for kindness. "Thank you, dear," the woman said softly, her voice barely audible over the rain. Emma smiled, helping her back to her feet. "Let me walk with you. Where do you live?" The woman hesitated, glancing down the street. "It's not far, but my legs aren't what they used to be." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the choice pressing on her. She could still make it if she hurried. Maybe. But looking at the woman, she realized there was no way she could just leave her to struggle alone. "It's okay. I've got time," Emma said, adjusting her umbrella to cover them both. They walked together, slow and careful. Emma held onto the cart as the woman clung to her arm, the rain making every step more difficult. Minutes ticked by, but Emma ignored, the panic rising inside her. She asked the woman her name, Margaret, and listened as she spoke about her late husband, how she used to love baking, how her children had moved away. She talked like she hadn't had someone to listen in a long time. By the time they reached Margaret's small apartment building, Emma's heart was racing. She had to go. She could still run for it, maybe call ahead and explain. But as Margaret fumbled with her keys, Emma noticed her hands shaking violently. The woman looked pale, unsteady. Something was wrong. "Margaret, are you okay?" Emma asked, steadying her. Margaret swayed slightly before nodding, forcing a smile. "Just a little dizzy, dear." Emma wasn't convinced. "You should sit down. Do you have anyone to call?" Margaret hesitated, and that was all the answer Emma needed. Without thinking twice, she guided the woman inside, helping her to a chair. The clock on the wall was merciless. Emma knew she had missed her interview. The realization hit like a punch, but at that moment, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. She turned her attention back to Margaret, who looked up at her with teary eyes. "No one stops to help anymore," Margaret whispered. "People are too busy." Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. Not everyone. She spent the next hour making sure Margaret was okay, preparing her tea, and even calling a neighbor to check in on her later. Only when she was sure the woman was safe did Emma finally leave, stepping back out into the cold rain, her stomach sinking with the weight of what she had lost. She walked home, dreading the conversation she would have with her family. They had been counting on this job, hoping it would finally bring some stability. Now, because of a decision she hadn't planned on making, everything felt uncertain. But what Emma didn't know was that her act of kindness had set something unexpected into motion, something that would change her life in a way she never imagined. "Emma, pushed open the door to her small apartment, her clothes still damp from the rain. The familiar scent of her mother's cooking filled the air, but tonight it didn't bring her comfort. Instead, her stomach tightened with dread. She knew she had to tell them. There was no hiding the truth. Her younger brother, Danny, sat at the kitchen table, finishing his homework, while their mother stirred a pot on the stove. When her mother turned and saw her, she frowned, noticing the way Emma hesitated at the doorway. "You're home early," her mother said, wiping her hands on a towel. "How did it go?" Emma opened her mouth, but no words came out. She had imagined this moment differently. She had seen herself walking through the door with excitement, sharing the good news, telling them that everything was going to be okay. But now, she felt like she had let them down. Her mother's expression shifted. "Emma," she exhaled, running a hand through her damp hair. "I didn't make it." The silence in the room was heavy. Danny looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Emma swallowed hard. "I stopped to help someone, an elderly woman. She needed me, and I couldn't just leave her." Her mother's eyes softened, but there was something else behind them. Worry, disappointment, fear. "Oh, sweetheart." "I know," Emma whispered, lowering her gaze. "I know this job would have changed things for us." For a long moment, no one spoke. The weight of their struggles was something they all carried. Emma's father had passed away when she was a teenager, leaving them with barely enough to get by. Her mother worked long hours at a diner, and Emma had taken on part-time jobs to help. This interview had been a way out, a stable paycheck, a chance for them to breathe again. Danny's voice broke the silence. "But you helped someone, right?" He tilted his head, his innocent eyes searching hers. "That's a good thing, isn't it?" Emma forced a small smile. "I hope so." Her mother sighed, rubbing her temples. "You have the kindest heart, Emma. But sometimes we have to think about ourselves too." Emma nodded, though deep down, she wasn't sure if she would have done anything differently. That night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the doubts crept in. What if she had just walked away? What if Margaret didn't really need her help? What if she had thrown away her future for nothing? The next morning, she woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing. Her heart leapt. Maybe the company had called. Maybe there was still a chance. She grabbed her phone, but the number was one she didn't recognize. "Hello?" She answered hesitantly. "Is this Emma?" The voice on the other end was warm but unfamiliar. "Yes." "Who is this?" "My name is James Carter. I believe you helped my grandmother yesterday." Emma sat up, gripping the phone tighter. "Margaret?" "Yes." The man chuckled softly. "She hasn't stopped talking about you. She told me what happened, how you walked her home, made sure she was safe." Emma's cheeks flushed. "Oh, it was nothing. It wasn't nothing," James interrupted, gently. "You gave up something important to help her, and I wanted to meet you in person." Emma blinked in surprise. "Meet me? If you're free, I'd love to take you to lunch. There's something I'd like to talk to you about." Emma hesitated, glancing at the small clock on her nightstand. She had nothing planned, no interview, no job, just another day of uncertainty. "Okay," she said finally. "I'd like that." Later that afternoon, she found herself sitting in a quiet cafe, across from James, a well-dressed man in his early 30s. He had kind eyes, the same shade of brown as Margaret's. "My grandmother means the world to me," he said, stirring his coffee. "She raised me after my parents passed, and ever since she got older, I've worried about her being alone. Yesterday, when she told me about you, I realized how rare it is to find someone willing to put a stranger before themselves." Emma shifted in her seat, unsure of what to say. James leaned forward. "I own a company, a small one, but we focus on community outreach. helping people, giving back. And I think someone like you belongs in a place like that. Emma's heart pounded. Was he saying what she thought he was? I checked with your original interview. James continued. They've already filled the position, but I'd like to offer you a different opportunity. A job at my company? Emma's breath caught in her throat. You… what? James smiled. It won't be the same position, but it's meaningful work, and I think you'd be perfect for it. She stared at him, overwhelmed. Just yesterday, she had felt like she lost everything. And now, because of one act of kindness, her life was shifting in a direction she never expected. But just as hope started to build, doubt crept in. Could she really trust this? Was it too good to be true? And what if taking this job meant facing even bigger challenges ahead? Emma had no idea that accepting James's offer would lead her down a path far more complicated than she ever imagined, one that would test everything she believed about herself, her choices, and the true meaning of success. Emma sat in the cafe, staring at James, her mind racing. A job offer, just like that. It felt like a dream, one she wasn't sure she could trust. She had spent the last 24 hours believing she had lost everything, and now she was being given a second chance, all because she had stopped to help a stranger. Her fingers tightened around her coffee cup. This is a lot, she admitted. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't help your grandmother for a reward. James nodded, understanding. I know. That's exactly why I want you on my team. Emma hesitated. This wasn't just about a job. It was about her future, her family. She needed to be sure. What kind of work would I be doing? James leaned back, thoughtful. It's a mix of things. We help struggling families, organize community programs, work with charities. We need people who genuinely care. People like you. Something in his words struck a chord deep inside her. For years she had dreamed of stability, of a job that would pay the bills and ease the weight on her mother's shoulders. But this was something more. This was purpose. Emma took a deep breath. Okay, she said, meeting his gaze. I'm in. The moment she said it, something inside her shifted. Maybe she had lost one opportunity, but she had found something greater in return. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Emma started working at James's company, diving into projects that helped people in ways she had never imagined. She met single mothers trying to rebuild their lives, elderly residents in need of support, struggling students who just needed someone to believe in them. Every day, she saw firsthand how small acts of kindness could create ripples that changed lives. And through it all, she kept in touch with Margaret. They had lunch every Sunday, and Margaret often reminded her how one choice, one moment of compassion, had led to everything that followed. Emma's family slowly began to understand too. Her mother, at first hesitant, eventually saw how happy Emma was, how fulfilled she felt. And one evening, as they sat together at the dinner table, her mother reached for her hand. I was scared, she admitted. I thought you had thrown away your future, but now I see. You found something even better. Emma squeezed her mother's hand, smiling. I think I did. The real turning point came a few months later, when James called her into his office. I have some news, he said, setting a folder in front of her. We're expanding, and I need someone to help lead a new program. I want that person to be you. Emma's breath hitched. Me? You have a heart for this, Emma. And you've proven that you don't just do this as a job. You care. That's the kind of leader we need. She sat there, overwhelmed. Just a few months ago, she had been terrified, unsure of what her future held. And now, she was being given the chance to make a real impact. Tears stung her eyes. She nodded. I won't let you down. James smiled. I know you won't. That night, as she walked home, Emma thought about the day she had met Margaret. The rain, the spilled groceries, the decision that had changed everything. At the time, she had felt like she had lost something important, but looking back, she realized that moment had given her far more than she had ever expected. Sometimes, the right path isn't the one we plan for. Sometimes, the greatest opportunities come from the choices we never expected to make, and sometimes a simple act of kindness can change everything.